With increased domestic production, Dominion wants to export gas to Japan and India, where prices are higher. Michael Frederick, head of operations here, says these countries would rather be using cleaner fuel than coal.
Well, it basically gives us an opportunity to provide additional energy security to allies, stabilize prices elsewhere in the world, has very little impact on pricing in the U.S. because there's only a small amount of that surplus that will be exported.
It's not a number you hear very often, mostly because most people don't consider the impact. But the U.S. annual trade deficit hit $750 billion just a few years ago, and for a time it seemed this gap might never be narrowed. The key words here, though, to narrow them are energy and oil, and why America is getting back into the trade driver's seat with a little help from technology. Let's welcome to MidPoint Vice President and Chief Economist at the American Council for Capital Formation, a Washington think tank with a conservative perspective of economic policy, Dr. Margo Thorning. Dr. Thorning, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We want to start out with natural gas. Is it fair to say that there are more myths about the United States, be it exporting natural gas, being prices of natural gas, being how it will impact us? There's more myths than just about truths going around these days, it seems.
That's right, and we hope to be part of the debate helping people understand the real wonderful bonanza in terms of natural gas resources that we've been able to unlock because of the new technology, hydraulic fracturing. And the question that many people ask is, what would it do to the price of gas domestically if we were allowed to export it? Right now, under the law, you can't export liquefied natural gas or any natural gas unless we have a free trade agreement with the country, and we don't have very many free trade agreements. So countries like China, India, the European countries would love to import our liquefied natural gas. All the studies, and there are a host of studies which are shown on our Act on LNG website, suggests that the price impacts of exporting even relatively large amounts of natural gas are very, very slight. In fact, today the Department of Energy just released a new study looking at the market impact of exporting as much as 20 billion cubic feet a day of natural gas, and the price impacts on the residential consumer range from about 2% to 4%. And given that natural gas is priced at about $3.50 a thousand cubic feet, the price impact might be 5 or 10 cents a month. So it's a very small impact according to a host of studies.
What about those who say that we should not be exporting a resource that we need right here at home?
Well, it's gotten to the point where producers are shutting in gas wells because the price of natural gas has fallen so low here in the U.S. that it doesn't pay to construct a pipeline to the well to capture the gas and then send it somewhere. So we're actually losing jobs and losing production because we don't have enough market for the huge abundance of natural gas that we've been able to begin to produce in the last 5 or 6 years.
We're always talking about limited fuel, and whenever we get down to oil, which we'll touch on in a moment here, people are saying, well, there's only so much oil left on the planet. I know this may sound like a foolish question, but I've had this asked of me before when the LNG argument comes up. How much is there? I mean, are we looking at centuries, perhaps, of liquefied natural gas that actually emanates from the earth that we can mine, or is this a finite source?
Well, everything is finite, but we keep, through the miracle of technology, being able to uncover more and more resources and produce them ever cheaper. So most analysts feel that we have, perhaps a 100-year supply of natural gas at current rates. And of course, with technology, we're getting more energy efficient all the time. Our power plants are more efficient, our appliances are more efficient. So then even though our population is growing a bit, we're still not going to see a huge increase in demand here in the U.S. for natural gas. Also, other countries around the world are beginning to use the fracturing technology, and they too will be producing natural gas. In fact, there are about 60 projects that other countries have started to develop and export their own liquefied natural gas. So it would be a big plus if U.S. Producers could export their gas and begin to get a share of the international market.
If it's so clean and so abundant, we have so much of it here in America, there's always the question, why don't we use it more? Or why don't we use it better and more efficiently to help drive a lot of our energy needs?
Well, that's exactly what's happening. More and more electricity is being generated by natural gas, We're switching away from coal, which emits more GHGs as well as other emissions. We're also beginning to use natural gas to fuel our transportation fleet. A lot of the bus fleets in cities are running on natural gas. Many of the trucks like FedEx or UPS that go back to the same hub every night are running on natural gas. And long-haul truckers are actually beginning to invest in the technology and build the refueling facilities too. So it will certainly be an increasing part of our transportation fuel.
What about oil? Because there's that 1970s ban on exporting U.S. crude oil that has been around, and there are many people saying, wait a minute, America suddenly, thanks to fracking and so many other techniques, we have an abundance of gasoline here. Should we not be in the job now of getting that exported and bringing some of that money here into America?
Well, that's what many people are beginning to conclude. So we will expect to see a debate in Congress and around the states about exporting U.S. crude. We think that given the very low price that crude has fallen to in the U.S., now it's about $75 a barrel, we're going to see production begin to be shut in soon if the price stays this low or even falls further, which will mean loss of jobs. We're in the happy situation of having abundant crude oil, which we could export if the administration deemed it in the national interest. And when you think about it, companies already can export all the gasoline they can produce from our crude. They can export all the diesel and the jet fuel. There's no restriction on exporting the refined product that comes from crude. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to forbid the export of the crude itself. And the studies, there are a host of studies which we're going to be showing on a new website that we'll set up tomorrow called Unlock Crude. A host of studies show strong job growth across not just oil and gas, but across other industries if we could export crude. And then there's the diplomatic side. If we were allowed to export crude to countries in Europe or countries in Asia, it would certainly help connect us in a diplomatic way with our trading partners.
And wouldn't be bad either when it comes down to money. That's always the one thing that we always walk down to. Fascinating discussion with all the liquid natural gas and the crude. America's looking better every day when it comes down to our own energy resources. Dr. Margo Thorning, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. All right, after the break, Wall Street reacts to a Fed decision and an exploding rocket. And later this hour, midterm polling numbers reveal what may or may not happen on Tuesday. It's coming up right here on MidPoint.